Last night, I was chatting with some of our middle schoolers about friendship, among other things. And I was asking, how do you know you can be friends with God? How do you know how that works? And the answers that I got at first were very like, Jesus, love, Bible, church, we go to confession, just the sorts of things that kids say because they think those are the correct answers. They're not really thinking about it. They're not processing it. And so I pointed out to them that, doing these things might not really cut it. I read the Bible, and I studied the Bible in school actually, but there are plenty of other people who study the Bible academically as history, and they don't even believe in God, right? So clearly, just reading the Bible is not enough. It seems like just going to Mass isn't really enough to have a friendship with God. It could be if you really understand the Mass and you really are like diving into it and getting deep in your faith through it. But that doesn't seem to be the case with a lot of people. So what's going on? And when I ran across today's gospel in particular, I think I stumbled on a bit of an answer. So, over the last few weeks, we've been going through John's gospel we have today. And he's talked about, yesterday, for example, the gospel was telling us, I am the vine, you are the branches, remain in me as I remain in you. And the second reading yesterday kind of presented a similar formula that we should be kind of familiar with by now. We love God by believing in him, believing in the one he has sent. And this means keeping his commandments. And when we do this, we'll know that we're doing it right because the Spirit of truth will abide in us. This is something that's repeated through John's gospel, through his letters. It's kind of like a four-step plan. Know God, believe in him, keep his commandments, the Spirit of truth. There you go, right? St. Augustine takes it to another level today when he looks at the fact that Jesus mentions that some people aren't going to do this. They're not going to have that special relationship with God. They're not going to keep his commandments, and the Spirit of truth will not abide in them. Well, why not? What's the difference? What's going on? What don't they get? So here's what he says. Love distinguishes the saints from the world. For there is a certain inner manifestation of God, unknown to the ungodly, to whom there is no manifestation made of the Father and the Holy Spirit, and only could be of the Son in the flesh. This latter manifestation is not as the former, being only for a little while, not forever, for judgment, not for joy, for punishment, not for reward. Jesus often tries to explain to his disciples that when he leaves, the Holy Spirit will come and that this is what he wants for them. Really, this is better. And they don't get it. And it's hard for us to get too, right? But Jesus is showing here that those four things, believe God, love God, keep his commandments, Spirit of truth, right? Those are not items on a checklist. That requires a radical transformation of the way we live, right? And there are going to be people who aren't willing to do that, who aren't going to see it that way, and who are going to keep demanding that simple, physical, limited manifestation, something that they can understand, something they control, instead of truly being open to the Spirit, right? In church lingo, we like to use that phrase, personal relationship with God, right? Personal relationship with Jesus. It's something that we try to do, that we try to explain to people maybe who aren't evangelized yet, who don't know their faith really well. Because we want to share what's so special about this. We want to share what brings us back to church over and over again, what we get out of our faith, which is a loaded term, but that's another reflection. I think when we say personal relationship, what we really mean is this, is moving from a four-step plan where we do these things into something that guides our life, that is the rhythm of our life, that allows us to participate in the Spirit, to listen to that gift that God has given us and to respond to it. It implies a relationship. So, how do we know? How do we understand? How can we give concrete examples of this? It's really hard to do, right? Often you see people talk about a personal relationship with God and then struggle for words because they can't describe their own personal relationship. And I'm sure it's really beautiful. and I really want to hear what they have to say, but often they just can't get the words out. So, one other alternative I would propose would be to look at the lives of the saints. And so for today, for instance, we can look at Catherine of Siena, right? She had a period of deeply, deeply contemplative prayer, and then at some point, after certain visions where God really revealed his purpose to her, that exploded into this extremely active life, where she was inspiring followers and creating communities all around Italy, where she brought the Pope back from France to Italy. Fascinating story. Google it if you don't know the details. Can't get into it all here. But you can see how she was not checking boxes. She was not just following a plan. She was extremely guided by the Spirit in her life. She had a relationship with God, and she was ready and willing to do whatever that relationship required. And she didn't know what it would be next. And that was okay with her. So that's the openness. That is the life that I want to see us think about when we say personal relationship with God. Right? So next time you use that phrase, be careful. Remember everything that it involves, everything that it entails. Remember that it's not just some steps. Remember that it's not just things to do. And try and convey that as well. And if you come up with a cool way of conveying it, please let me know.